Hey, my name is Albert Lowen. I am the lead pastor here at Mount Salem Community Church, and I get to tell you a little bit about Dream Center. So 2 years ago, our young adults took a little trip out here, came back and talked to all of us about how amazing it was. And so this last year when we were talking about doing a youth missions trip, Trevor's like, we need to go to Dream Center. And so we began planning. And being here this week, this place has absolutely amazed me. In some ways, Dream Center could really be defined exactly by its name. It's trying to offer the dream of sobriety, of recovery, of housing, of all the things. When you think about all the things that are wrong with major cities, all the problems people have, this really becomes a center where we don't just say, hey, there's issues in the world, but if you have a dream of achieving help, if you have a dream of achieving a better life, Dream Center has a program for you. And so we got to be a part of all sorts of outreaches, some of their relief work, all sorts of stuff the kids are going to tell you about. But if you think about Dream Center really is the church saying, if you want help, Jesus has an answer. Your dream is not too big for what Jesus is wanting to do in your life. And so while we can't force people to change, while we can't force anything, we can offer the opportunity for people, and that's what Dream Center does.
Hey guys, my name is Trevor. I am the youth and creative pastor here at Mount Salem Community Church. I had the pleasure of leading this trip alongside Albert and as well as a bunch of other leaders that we had come along with us. And what you're going to expect in this video is our team is just going to be sharing a bunch of stories. And we're going to be talking about kind of what we did from Monday all the way through till when we left to come back home. And kids are going to be sharing stories about not only the change that they've experienced in their lives, but also just the cool stories and testimonies of other people that they encountered and some of the work that we got to be a part of here at the Dream Center. So we hope you enjoy.
Hi, my name is Andrew, and I was helping at the Angelus' temple. I was helping Greg clean the church there, and I was vacuuming the kids' room. They had some pretty cool stuff in there. Like compared to our church, that one's massive. And their kids' room, they had like electronics and stuff. That was pretty cool. They had like the arcade car things. That was pretty cool. I also cleaned the bathroom. There was a dead cockroach. Yeah, it was a little disgusting, but that's all right. Yeah, and I just was vacuuming all the kids' rooms and all the carpet rooms. It was just so different than from our church. Greg had an interesting story. I'm not gonna share it because that's his story, but yeah.
On Tuesday afternoon, Our half of the Dream Center crew, we stayed at Dream Center and we did a food bank. It ran similar to the Christmas program that is run every year in Albert. There was a lot of poor and low income people that came and they get a couple items from each table. There was like water, peanut butter, and like even stuff like dog food. For example, around 250 people came there. Some showed up multiple hours before. They'd like come like early in the morning just to get in line to get the food. Majority of people came with a smile and talked a lot. They were very happy and they like put a smile on our faces. They wouldn't give us long conversations, but it really inspired us just to be happy no matter what our circumstance was, and that it just can show other people the love of Jesus. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Eva, and on Tuesday I served in the Dream Kids Missions Trip. It was hosted in a low-income area with people who were struggling and often were living in houses with 3 generations of people. It was hosted in a small park. They had a big gym that was it was funded by Kobe Bryant's wife, I believe. But there was incredible equipment, huge murals, and they had a bunch of play equipment and sports balls, which was really cool. We started off by singing and dancing. The kids got really into it. They had them up on stage up front, singing and dancing. It was really cool. And then we had a talk about the Holy Spirit and how He moved in our lives. I think a large part of how it moved me in there was when they were talking about people that you've lost, and every single child raised a hand that they had lost someone important to them, and none of them could have been older than 10. Like, it was crazy. And we then moved to playing games, and we had art with the kids, and we talked with them, and we had a kid ask for a prayer request because he had just lost his grandma, and watching the kids have no reaction to hearing someone dying like it was an everyday thing, that really hit hard, because that was not normal for us. Also, watching the kids going between using aggressive behavior and bad language to being all sweet and loving all over you, that was also very difficult to see because that was just every day for them. It was also a lot of seeing the kids, because they had their toys with them, seeing them become extremely possessive over their toys. And if you touched it, you would get yelled at. Because for them, they didn't have many things that were just their own, and those were their own things. There was a girl we made Loom brand bracelets with, and if you touched it, she would scream at you. She had to say, "You can touch it," in order for you to be able to make anything, which was heartbreaking, but in a good way, because it opened your eyes. But it made me think a lot about what we could do in our community, because we have a lot of people who are like that and who need help. Like starting a mega sports camp that's free and accessible to everybody, just for kids to come and experience Jesus and have the ability to play games and create bonds with people. I think that's what really stood out to me.
On Wednesday, we woke up really bright and early, and we went down to the kitchen to volunteer. And as soon as we walked in, everybody, you could just feel it. It was so upbeat and open. Everyone was happy to see us. Even the people in the discipleship program, they were so happy that we were helping out, and they were just so happy with anything we could do. Yes, and there was people, me, Andrew, and Carter, we were all cutting meat, and there was people doing vegetables. Some people were cutting up lobster tails. Some people were bagging stuff and just boxing stuff up. And then there was people, I think all the disciples were all cooking the food and stuff. there was music going on there, and I didn't know really what kind of music they listened to. But as soon as I heard the first song, it's Praise. It's one of my favorite worship songs of all time. I was just singing along with every song I knew, and every song I didn't, I tried to sing along. And after we were handing out lunch and stuff, and this guy, Lucky, he's a local in the area that just comes and volunteers here. He was really helpful in telling us what to do and everything. And yeah, it was just such a good time.
Me and Elena did Adopt a Block at Imperial. We did food prep before, so we went out into the back of the building and loaded food trucks with pineapples, tomatoes, lettuce, drinks, oranges, and cucumbers, and then we packaged them individually for each family.
Once a week, the Dream Center team members, they bring groceries to families in need at Imperial every week.
Our group was split up into 2 different teams, so we had 2 different routes that we did at the site.
The Dream Center team members have a real strong connection with the families on this route, and they treated them like their family. The first guy that I met on my route was Flanoy, and he welcomed us and treated us like we were family. The second person was Miss Chocolate, and she invited us into her home only a few minutes in. After we visited everyone on the route, we knocked door to door and we offered the extra groceries, and we just wanted to spread the word of Jesus.
So on my route, the first woman that we met was Brenda. She was amazing. She was so funny. She was sitting out on her porch, and as soon as she saw the Dream Center walking, she immediately got up and started talking to them and starting conversation. And she was just so excited. She gave all of us a hug, even though she literally had never met us before. We got some dating advice from her, and yeah, she was just overall great. She showed us, she told us her life story. She lost her parents, she lost her brothers and sisters. She's the only one left, and but she still was so eager to praise Jesus. And she was just telling us that sometimes when she grieves, she just remembers that there's so many other things to be happy about. Another person that we met on our route was Monica and Maddie. They were so sweet. Maddie is her child. She's, I think, 6 or 8 in that range, and she ran out the door as soon as she saw us and gave all of us a hug and asked us what our names were, and then took a selfie with each and every one of us. She was very cute. Monica asked for prayer. We prayed with all of them. Yeah, it was just really cool to see.
Hi, my name's Eric. And I'm Noah. Thursday morning, we went out to the food trucks, and in the parking lot, probably roughly around 7:30 or 8. We sorted out food and loaded food from canned food, vegetables, everything, and we loaded it into the trucks, and then someone shared their testimony while we were doing it. It was pretty cool.
We met up with the food truck ministry leaders. The main leader his name is Chris. He's a really cool guy. He shared us his testimony, which I'm gonna touch a bit on. So Chris, he grew up in Kentucky. He grew up in a crack house that was on and off, and he had loving parents one day, and the other day they were drug guys. He moved with his grandparents, where he had 4 years of just beautiful recovery, and then he finally found himself doing drugs again, and he used a verse the dog always goes back to his vomit, which is a really good example. He was doing drugs. He committed suicide when he was 19.
He attempted.
He attempted
He
suicide
attempted
when he was
suicide.
19. He was just in a really bad place. His pastor from the whole church he went to when he was in a good place with his grandparents came to him and asked him if he wanted to do a rehab program in the Dream Center. It wasn't at the Dream Center, it was anywhere else he went to, but he wanted to escape because he felt like he hurt everybody, all his family members in Kentucky. So he wanted to escape Kentucky. So he came to the Dream Center, where he enrolled in the discipleship in the Dream Center. Here they helped him overcome his drug addiction and helped him with his mental health. He only went up from there, and now as he is the leader of the Food Check Ministry and serves 25,000 people a day, basically.
A big part that kind of stood out to me was he made a point or a reference. From growing up on a farm, he grew up on a farm in Kentucky, and he farmed a lot. And he made a reference of planting a seed. You plant the seed in the soil, and the seed has to have life and bloom, and then it has to break out of the shell that it's in, the seed shell that it's in, and then it digs and finds its way up through the soil, and once it pokes through to the light, and then it kind of blooms into the big flower or the big plant, beautiful plant that it is, and kind of the sun representing God in that reference, in that there's layers of recovery that he took from breaking through something like in the reference the shell of the seed and then finding his way up to the light where God was, and then being in the place that he is now.
Basically how the food ministry worked was we took our truck and met them in a poor income neighborhood where we parked the truck in a park, and we set it up a food chain, and people had lined up, 150 people lined up for 3+ hours to be in the front. So one by one they came down the food chain and we gave them their food. It was really neat seeing how much people need food. At the end we didn't have enough because there's more people than we thought. It was really sad and disappointing to see people walking 3 miles plus to get to this food truck and not having any food and to walk home empty-handed. It was another thing I didn't touch was Will Chris's story. He glorified God. He said he didn't do anything. God did everything. He didn't do anything. God did. God carried him through his hardest moments, through his brightest moments. It was pretty neat.
It was really cool how passionate he was with what he was doing. And he explained the reason why he was doing it was because as a kid, or as when he was in his late teens, like 17 through 19 or 20 or something, he was on the streets, and he struggled for food, and he always found himself in the lines that he is now serving, looking for food, trying to get food. And he says he knows what the feeling of being hungry and searching for food is, and he doesn't want anybody else to experience that, and that's why he's helping out there as much as he can, trying to help. And yeah, after we were done sorting food, or giving everybody their food, groceries, we packed everything up and we prayed. Chris prayed originally, and then we ended up praying for Chris, and he opened up a lot there. It was really, he has a really cool story. It was just amazing guy.
Yep, they opened up. We prayed for Chris. They were short-staffed, so go help out. They were also saying about a new program that they wanted to introduce this summer. So since the 150 people, families, are waiting in line for 3+ hours, the kids are really bored or are just staying there with their parents, nothing to do. And since we're doing it in a park, they said we're gonna have a kids ministry where they can bring their kids so they can play games and learn about the gospel. That was really cool to see the movement always looking to do something better.
We had the opportunity to participate in Dream Center's foster care intervention program. This program, basically, it is there to ensure that families don't have to open a case to put their kids into foster care, and what Dream Center does is they can give them the items and accessories, whatever they need, to be able to keep their kids
out of foster care and keep the families together. When we went to help with this foster care intervention program, we went there to build shelves. We went there to build beds. We went there to give support to the families, be able to help them any way we needed to, and basically just pray for the families. Pray that God would be there, help them out, and then wish them the best.
Friday morning, half the group participated in clothing outreach. The Dream Center does this every Friday to help the community to have access to clothes and shoes for free. Walking in, we saw racks and racks of high-quality clothing that was donated and gifted. Our group helped by checking, bagging, and organizing the clothing, and within 4 hours, we helped almost 500 individuals. They were so grateful and appreciative, and some were just so kind, and it really highlighted that how many people were willing to wait hours in a line for a few clothes and shoes, and Dream Center really shows how they can help fulfill people's needs.
Hey guys, we just got back from Skid Row.
Yeah, so basically, today we went to Skid Row, and it's something they do twice a week here at the Dream Center, and it's basically just going to, like, they have like a certain block they go to, and they just hand out food and use it as an opportunity to talk about what they do here.
So Skid Row is, if you don't already know what it is, it's like the most dense homeless area in Los Angeles, and we got to go out and hand out hot dogs and talk to people, have some great conversations. We got to pray for anyone who wanted to pray, and some people, even though they declined a prayer, they were still so grateful that we could hand out food and be there for them.
Yeah, some, like when we would go up to like the tents, all we had to do was say like Dream Center, and right away they'd come out, even if they like they knew what it was. Well, not all of them actually, but the people in the tents at least did.
Yeah, so we were in groups of like 4 or 5. We went out. I had a really cool conversation with this guy named Marcus. He told us like all about where he's from. We gave him some flyers and we recommended him to Dream Center. He told us about his travels, and he used to be a trucker out in Ontario by Toronto, and he drove all around the country, and it was a really cool conversation. I had an amazing time. He was a really cool guy.
Yeah, and even like my group, we were not in the same group. In my group, we sat down with a guy named Dell, and he was more like, you could, when you were there, like you could see the environment. Like it wasn't like the people were great, but you could tell that they were using, like you could smell it, you could smell the urine. Like it was like you could see it, it was there. But we sat down with him, and he talked about how last year he like signed up for everything. He did everything for Dream Center to go to rehab, and then the day came and he just wasn't ready to give up what he held so close to, which was drugs, sadly. And like that just shows how, even though like that's what they keep going, because the guy in charge, like he always goes and talks to him because he knows that he can do it. So it's just a normal like a choice that they make.
And it was just, all in all, it was just so crazy, like how many people are who don't have a place to live and a place to sleep and are just out on the street. And it was really cool that we were able to go out and see them as who they are, as just people. They're just people trying to get through the day, and we got to go and talk to them and have some cool experiences.
And we only went to like 2 blocks of 50, so the surreal thing of 2 blocks is actually 50. So it's kind of crazy to even think that. Like I bet you that number is close to what we have. Like, there's tons of people. So.